This is my Montserrat's Stratian Voices, and our voice today is Calypsonian / songwriter Edwin Red Ride Martin. Welcome to my Montserrat, Edwin. Wagwan.
Hey, how are you?
Okay, I'm good. So listen, for the fans who are not familiar with you, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who you are and which part of the island you came from.
Well, my name is Edwin Martin. Those in the Calypso arena know me as Red Ride. I'm from a part of Montserrat we call Bayer. It's not an official village, but it's between Weekses and St. George's Hill. And it's a small little community up there.
Okay.
And that's where I come from.
Okay. So you currently reside in the US?
Yes, I'm in Miramar, Florida.
Okay. So listen, let's talk a little about Red Ride, the songwriter. How did you get into songwriting?
Well, I'd been sort of experimenting with songwriting for many years because I'm a journalist by trade. Mm-hmm. And I've always, I moved to the States at a very young age, at age 10. And for some reason, I never lost interest in calypso. Calypso was a very important part, growing up in Montserrat. And even though I came over here, and eventually I started getting interested in other genres of music,
right.
R&B and different things. When you're living in the States. But for some reason, I always had an interest in calypso, and I think my mom had a lot to do with that. Because she is a huge calypso. If you think I'm a big calypso fan, she's also a huge fan.
Okay.
And so growing up, she would always be singing calypso around the house, and telling my sister and I stories about calypsonians who she used to see when she was younger, like Sparrow and Chalk Dust and people like that.
Right.
So getting back to the point, I was always interested in calypso, so I always used to experiment. But as far as getting into writing seriously, that only started around maybe 2004, 2005. And how that happened was I used to I used to come down to Montserrat very regularly and everything. Every time I would come down for Christmas, I would always be at the calypso shows, so I would always follow that closely. Okay. And I started getting interested in it more and more, and I started saying, well, I wonder if this is something I can do, Mm-hmm. And, I've always been a person who's very socially conscious, I follow the news a lot and different things like that, and I've always been a fan of social commentary. Right. How I got to write my first song was in 2004, I started a website about Montserrat Festival. At that time I didn't know anything about how to create a website or anything, so I was doing things by trial and error. And so I started contacting some of the former calypso monarchs in Montserrat, and to find out some information, like you know about this, about how what years they won, right, the songs they sang, and different things like that. Yeah, you on festival. That's how I got to meet Candy. Right. So when I called her and everything, she was very, very receptive and everything, and she gave me so much really good information and everything. And I was talking to her one day, and I said to her, "How would you feel if I wrote a calypso for you?" And she said, "Well, right now my writer is Hero, mm-hmm. But if you have a good idea, I'd be happy to look at it." And I wrote this song called Frontline, mm-hmm. And she used that song in 2006, and she won that year. So you were a winner right off the bat. Right off the bat. Nice. Now I must say that that same year I did write a few other calypsos with her in mind, but they were never recorded. Okay. They were never recorded, but Frontline was the one that was an instant hit. But was that her first or second crown? That was her. I think that was her third crown. Oh, okay. Yeah, because I think she won in 2000 and 2003, and then that was 2006. So that was her third crown. Okay, yeah, right. And so it was success right off the bat, and I'm like, hey, maybe I have a future in this. You know what I mean? Okay. So that's how that really began. So you wrote last year. I know you wrote for that kid Tiger. Yeah. How did that come about? That's a very interesting story. Actually we skipped the part about how I got interested in singing. Because at first I was just writing, and then I started performing. Right. Anyway, we could get back to that. In 2009, I was in the Calypso Finals. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you followed the show that year, but I had a song called All Hail the King. Yeah, I heard that. I was basically singing a song about a fellow Calypsonian. Right. And at the end of that song, I did an extra verse where I mentioned the Mighty Tiger. And so a couple days later, I actually saw him. That was the first time I actually met him.
Okay.
And somebody said to him, hey, there's a Mighty Tiger over there, you know, and I went up and I was talking to him. And he said to me, first of all, I said to him, you know, I hope you don't mind that I mentioned your name, you know, in the calypso, in the extra verse. And he said, no, man, absolutely not. And then he said to me, listen, because at that time he was still a junior calypsonian.
Right.
And he said to me, listen, I'm thinking about joining the big show next year. Would you be interested in writing for me? You see, he said, I'm looking for a writer. I said, well, you know, stay in touch with me, you know. I'm on Facebook, you know, I'm very easy to reach. So I said, stay in touch with me. And at that time, I thought it was just a casual conversation where there was not going to be any follow-up or anything like that. Right. But he did get in touch with me. And so, you know, at that point, I felt an obligation I had to do it because I did promise him. And so I said to him, listen, this is your introduction to the big show, and I want you to go in with a bang. And the first song I wrote for him was that song, I Just Can't Wait to Be King. Right. Because I said, okay, his name is Tiger. What is a good idea to come out with? And I just thought of that Lion King theme, you know. I just can't wait to be king, king as in Calypso King and everything like that. And that's where that idea came from. That was a bold move. Yeah, so that's what I did with, that's how that came about last year.
Oh, okay. So you're back, it's festival season again. Are you writing for anyone this year?
Yes, I'm helping out Candy again. Okay. I've already sent her one song, and I'm working on the second one right now, and I'm also, I am not 100%, this is not 100% set in stone, but I'm also thinking about competing this year again.
I heard on the radio that you're definitely 100% in. That's wait, what me up and said you be there tonight there?
Don't believe everything you hear. I'm going to try my best. But at this point, okay, guarantee it. But I will definitely try my best to be in the show this year. Right. It's a little difficult when you're helping someone else out and then trying to, you know what I mean? Right. And then try to do things on your own. So I'm definitely trying my best.
Well, have you heard any of the material that the other Calypsonians are going to be putting out this year? I know Taboo released today.
Yes, I heard Taboo's song. This morning. It's a very interesting song. It has a nice beat, and I, you know, there's obviously some very strong social commentary in there. Right. It's very promising. You know, it's very catchy, and I'm sure that it probably will resonate with a lot of Monstratians because, you know, it's kind of that song. I think it's called "Trouble in the Land."
Something like that, yes.
And it's kind of, to me, it's a little similar to the Bears' Melee for Sale, you know? You're right. Where he's basically mentioning incidents in there, but he's not really calling anyone's name. Right. You know? And so it's a very interesting song. And I also heard some excerpts from Black Jaguar. Really? I haven't heard the whole songs yet.
Oh, okay. How about some
excerpts from Black Jaguar songs, and those sound very promising as well.
And you heard a piece of Silkone? No.
Yeah, I heard Extra. Okay. Silk Song Extra, which is I think that might be the biggest hit this season, I would think, as far as soca.
Yeah, could be.
I think it's very promising. And I think that's a song that has really good crossover appeal. It's not going to be just popular in Montserrat. I think it's going to be very popular all over.
Oh, he has a song called Changing World. You didn't get to hear that?
Yeah, I think I did hear a little bit of that one, actually. And that one was very interesting as well. Very interesting. Okay. Big song and very true. It's also a song that I think is very, very applicable to what's going on in the world today as far as it is this year has been a very, you know, I mean, talking about changing worlds, about, I mean, you just saw this week that Gaddafi is gone. I mean, right. You know, things like that. This has been a very eventful year.
It's a watershed year.
Very year. Also, you know, Bin Laden gone, and you know, different things. You had early in the year, you had a man saying the world was going to end. You know, you had all these things going on this year, so it was very eventful.
It's very eventful, very, very eventful.
And different things like that, you know.
Yeah, and he touched, I mean, I've heard the whole song. He touches on a lot of that.
Yes, exactly. And so it's very, very, very apropos, as to say. I mean, it's right. You know, for what's going on right now. So.
And the arrangement, I thought,
these are some very strong social commentaries, you know.
Right.
And I want to take my hat off to you guys at Parent Sounds, man. You guys are putting out some great material.
Well, we're trying.
And, you know, it's great to see that. I think one thing that you guys and I have in common is that, you know, even though we might not live in Montserrat, we try our best to carry the flag wherever we go and do justice to Montserrat and never forget where we came from.
You're exactly right.
you know, and, you know, they say America is the land of opportunity, and we you know, we're over here and we should make the most of that opportunity and do what we can to, for the benefit of Montserrat.
Right, right.
You know, Silk, I've always been a big Silk fan, you know, ever since I heard that song, Wage War.
Yeah.
You know, way back, almost, I think that probably was about 10 years ago.
I mean, hands down, Silk is the best singer in the competition.
Absolutely. He has a wonderful voice.
I mean,
and I think, you know, I'm really glad that he signed on with you guys, because I think for so many years he was actually, I don't want to say wasted, but, you know, when you have that kind of talent, you have to kind of hone it and really, really push it, you know what I mean? And I think, you know, that he could have been, you know, this is a superstar in the making.
He is. You know? I mean, when you hear this album is probably going to be one of those things that defines him for a long time.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it at all.
Okay, so let me ask you, are you anticipating a tight competition this year? I mean, whether or not you compete, I mean.
Well, from what I heard, for instance, you know, I looked over the list. I think there's about 28 or 29 Calypsonians.
Yeah, it's a good number.
And I looked over the list, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, you have 28 or 29 people basically fighting for 9 spots in the final, because obviously the defending champion is automatically in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying to myself, I'm going on the list, and I'm like, how, you know, somebody, a prominent Calypsonian is going to get left out.
No, definitely.
You know, and I'm trying to look at it. You know, when you look, and it's like an all-star lineup. You know, you have Candy, you have Taboo, you have Rakatang, you have Silk,
Andy,
you have Black Jaguar, you have Andy coming back, and you have all these people. And I'm like, man, somebody is going to get squeezed out.
Yeah, you got somebody's going to get a hurt thing.
You know, and so but I think that's good. I think the better the competition, the better show we get.
Yeah, it's about raising the quality. I mean, if the competition is tight, it means that the quality is high.
Absolutely. And one more thing I'm pleased about, you know, earlier in the year I heard a lot of people saying, well, this year's show is not going to be very good because everybody's looking towards 2012, which is the 50th anniversary. Mm-hmm. So it's really good to see the kind of participation coming in, you know?
Right.
And another thing too, on another note, you know, I also heard there was rumors months ago that there wasn't going to be a Queen show, but I understand they're going to have a Queen show, which is good. Yeah,
I think I saw that on the festival calendar that I saw online a little while ago.
Absolutely, because just 2 years ago we didn't have a Queen show.
Right.
The last time I competed in 2009, there wasn't a Queen show that year because they couldn't find enough girls to compete. So this is all good. I mean, you know, I kind of got the impression everybody was saying, oh, everybody's looking towards 2012, and this year's going to be kind of a down year.
Yeah, like sort of one of those years where you just, you know, they just tread water basically and wait for next year. But
so it's good to see that there's that kind of participation.
Right.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit how you got into singing, into calypso. I mean,
the singing now. Okay. Yeah. Well, like I said, I started the writing about 2004, 2005.
Right.
In 2008, to be honest with you, I owe the calypso singing solely to Barack Obama.
Oh, okay.
I would have to credit him because I never really had any intention of singing calypso. What happened was in 2008, during the whole election with Obama and everything, as the months went by and it became more and more apparent that he could win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was so proud that in my lifetime I would get to see a black president that I just felt so motivated that the song I wrote, Obama, that's the easiest song I've ever written.
Okay.
Because, you know, this might sound kind of strange, but when something happens in your life that has a profound effect on you, it brings out the best in you. And the lyrics for that song, Obama, in 2008, came to me almost like an epiphany. They just came, and I just wrote them down,
mm-hmm.
and it was the easiest song I've ever written. And it's still my most notable song, you know, up to date. And it's the easiest song I've ever written. And I said to myself, you know what? I can't give this song to anybody. I think this song is my song.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know what? I'm gonna throw caution to the wind, and I'm gonna enter the competition this year. And I called down to Montserrat and I told them put my name on. That was 2008. And I made it all the way to the finals. I finished 4th, and which I don't think is too shabby.
No, that's not a bad.
You know,
that's not a bad goal.
Make the finals on your first try and everything. And
right.
Oh, that's not too bad. And so that's how I got started in that. And then the following year, I did a song called Miss Montserrat, which also, you know, a lot of people liked.
Yeah, that I like that one. That's one of my faves.
Yes. And then 2010 now, I did not participate. I was writing for a couple people. And,
okay.
You know, I did some commentating on ZJB.
Right.
So I had to take a break that year. And then so, if all goes well, I'm back this year.
Okay. How did you find competing though? Is it harder than it looks or what? Because, you know, it's easy to sit down and watch people up on stage and critique them, but how did you find it when you got into it?
Let me tell you something. let me tell you something. When I used to just go to Calypso shows, I used to just stand up in the audience and watch people, and sometimes you might see people make a mistake or whatever, and you say to yourself, oh man, you know, he's an idiot. What's he doing? Yeah. That thing is, you listen, if somebody has never really been on stage, they don't know what it's like.
Right.
Because, let me tell you, when I competed in 2008 in Montserrat Calypso show, I remember the night of the eliminations, there was about probably 28 or 29 of us, and I picked number 17. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't like waiting a long time when I'm singing, when I'm performing. Because to me, the longer I wait, I start getting more antsy and all kind of things start going through my head, and I don't like that. I like to go early.
Right.
Anyway, I was number 17. So this was my first time ever on the stage in Montserrat. And I remember when number 16 finished, I was backstage waiting to go on. And I remember this whole aura of fear came over me. And I remember thinking to myself, well, what should I do? Should I run or should I, you know, what should I do, you know? And I mean, it's really, really, really nerve-wracking. And anyway, you go up there and, you know, you always hear about people busting and things like that. Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often. Because for anybody who's never really been on stage, you're up there, you have a bright light shining in your face.
Right.
You're trying to concentrate on about 4 different things at the same time. You're trying to use up the stage as they tell you to move around. You're trying to remember your lyrics. Mm-hmm. This light you're dealing with, you can't really see the audience. And, you know, you're trying to stay, you know, in time and everything with the music. It's really, really a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah, you got to take your hat off to people.
I'm very surprised people don't bust more often because you can get easily distracted.
Right.
Very easily distracted.
I mean, on another note, you know, you got to sympathize with people like, you know, some of the ladies are going for the Queen show and flop. I mean, they're not stupid. It's just, you know.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is that I think the ladies actually have it harder.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're going out there in swimsuit and, you know, I mean, you know, come on, you know how we are in the Caribbean. We can be very mean sometimes.
Of course.
How many times have you been to a Queen show and you hear somebody in the crowd, where you get that from? Where you got that up there? You know, people can say some mean things.
Yeah, and you know, you have to pretend you didn't hear that and try and focus on what go on.
You know how it is. So, I listen, I take my hat off to those young ladies. They really, really have a tough job.
Right,
so,
right.
To anybody who's never really been on the stage and don't know what it's like, I would say, listen, if you see somebody mess up there, I think you should just keep your mouth shut, because trust me, it's not easy.
Right.
It's not easy at all.
Well, there's been a lot of talk lately about, you know, about the culture, trying to preserve the culture and whatnot. And I know you're a guy who, quite a few years back, decided to do something about it. Talk to me a little bit about that. Why is it that we've made so little effort to preserve the culture? Festival culture, for example.
Well, I don't, to be quite honest with you, that's one of the things, you know, as much as I love Montserrat, that's one of the things I'm a little disappointed about. I know we have, for instance, the National Trust, where they try to preserve a lot of the culture and different things. Mm-hmm. But I think if you look at people individually, it's almost like something that they're not really concerned about. In 2007, I put out a book on the 45th anniversary of festival, and I had to do a lot of research for that book. And it was really difficult, especially working from the States.
Right.
Where you have to be making, you know, calls and, you know, and I was quite surprised at how our archives and different things are not very, very well preserved, you know. And, you know, I remember one day I went in the library, and I used to go in the library when I was doing my research, the Montserrat Library, and I would stay in there for hours sometimes at a time. And I remember I was going through the old copies of the Montserrat newspaper. You know, it was the Montserrat Mirror back then and
right.
different things. And I said to one of the young girls working in there, I said, listen, the newspapers for 1962, I forgot what year it was. I said, the newspapers for one of these years is missing. And she said, oh, really? She said, oh, okay, I don't know where it is. Just like that. You know, it's like, I'm like, hello. You guys need to look for it.
Right.
This is our history. You know, if this library burns down, Montserrat history is gone.
Totally.
You know, so I was a little disappointed in the mindset as far as, you know, preserving the history and everything like that, and I took it upon myself. I would ask different Calypsonians, you know, hey, what song did you sing whatever year? It's like, I don't remember, you know. There's no way you can just go and look and say, hey, here's what happened this year, here's who competed, different things like that.
And listen, you don't get enough credit for that. There's no place else you can go other than, you know, your site right now, or, you know, monsterculture.com, where we copied it, and find out, you know, who won the crown in XY year and the songs that they sung. Or who won the Queen Show what year?
Well, I took it upon myself. I said, look, if no one else is going to do it, I'm going to have to do it. And the thing about it is, I said, you know, you have to look at it this way. I think I counted like about 17 different people have won the Calypso Monarch in Montserrat history. Since 1962 to now, 17 different people have won the Calypso Monarch.
Right.
We're fortunate enough, I mean, that most of them are still alive, you know? We're talking a span of over 50 years.
Right.
I mean, I think of all the Calypso Monarchs, the former Calypso Monarchs, I think the only one who passed away was Arrow. And that was just last year.
Right.
So, you know, I was going around in 2007 asking people, you know, what did you sing this year? Or, you know, different things like that. And, you know, it's amazing. You can't really find this information anywhere. It's not written anywhere. You would think like the festival committee every year would even just get somebody to just type down and say, okay, here's what happened this year, here's who won what, these are the people who competed. There's nothing. I
mean, ZJB probably has a lot of that, I mean, the music itself archived, but I don't think they have a record of, you know.
I was told that ZJB doesn't have anything going, I think before 1972, something like that.
I joke upon.
Yeah. They don't have music from the 60s. They don't have, you know, back in the 60s, I remember my mom was telling me about people like, Lasso. You had these Calypsonians like Lasso and
right,
and the warrior, the young warrior, and you know, people like that. Even Red Pole, you know.
Right.
All these people had calypsos in the 60s. The music is nowhere to be found. It's gone.
I mean, and Lasso was not only a good calypso, Lasso was a good writer. Lasso was writing for Arrow for a while.
Yes. So I think before 1972, I don't think any of those songs were preserved.
Okay.
I don't think so.
It was really not.
So you do have a few people who are interested in preserving these things, but I think by and large, most people, it's almost like it's not really something that's meaningful to them. And I think that's sad, because the way I look at it is, Montserrat is going to be still there when we're gone.
Right.
And I want to know if somebody 100 years from now says, hey, what happened in the year 2011 in Montserrat with our festival? There should be something preserved somewhere that lets them know that. I mean, look at America. America is very, very archive conscious.
Right.
I mean, you can go right now and find the Bible that Abraham Lincoln put his hand on when he was sworn in as president.
Yeah, all them kind of things there.
Little things like that. Why don't we have things like that? We don't think about preserving things like that.
I mean, you can forgive things like in the 60s, 70s, 80s, but in this day and age,
absolutely.
I mean, you got to get up to speed.
No excuse. There's no excuse. And you know, I don't know if people think, well, hey, I'm going to be around forever or whatever. It's not going to work that way. You know, I mean, we have to do it now to preserve it for future generations.
Right.
You know? So I'm doing my part, and but I'm only one person. You know?
True.
You know, so, but I'm definitely doing my part.
Where can we get a copy of your book? I got to ask you.
I have some more copies here. I can definitely send you guys a few.
Okay, because I've heard a couple other people ask about it.
Yes, I can definitely send you a few. And I'm also considering doing one for the 50th anniversary.
That's next year.
The only thing about that is I'm checking to see, because I have a feeling some other people might have the same plan.
Oh, okay.
And I don't want to be having competing books.
Right.
Or different things like that. So if someone else is, but I think somebody needs to do it, obviously.
Right.
You know, so I was thinking about it, but we'll see how things go. We still have a year and change.
True.
You know, I was listening to the Festival Fever show, and I heard them talking about the show, and you know, they were telling the crowd, listen, we want your support. We don't want men to think, okay, you can't come out looking at other men and different things. And I really think that's a good message to send. Look, women come out to see the Queen show.
Right.
Men should come out to see the Mr. Montserrat show. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that you know how.
Yeah, you gotta get past that.
Yeah, some people have this old-fashioned way of thinking.
Right.
Go watch no man. You know.
No, it's fashion. There's no harm in being fashion conscious.
No. And the thing about it is, you know, you shouldn't just think about it as a sort of a pageant or anything.
Right,
or,
right.
You know, when you think of pageant, you think of women. It's a show, it's a competition, and it's about, these men, showing their talent and representing Montserrat to the fullest. And there's absolutely nothing, nothing negative about it. I know some people have these old-fashioned ways of thinking.
Right, right.
You know, people really need to come out and support that show. I think it's a very good idea.
I mean, I don't know how, what the bodybuilding scene is like, but I know we had a big bodybuilding culture at one time.
Right. I do recall, but by that time, I think I'd already left.
Well, let me touch a little bit on a somewhat controversial topic, Calypso judging specifically. I mean, I know we talked about it before. You wrote a piece for us before on this topic. Well, I mean, what do you think about having, outside judges for the competition, like Antigua's done? You bring in half the panelists from someplace else.
Well, on the surface, it sounds like a really good idea. My only concern with that is that if a Calypsonian is singing something that's relevant only to Montserrat, will the judge understand it? That's the only risk with that.
Right.
I think one of the suggestions I made was, of the 5 judges, why don't we have 2 judges who are Monstratians who live in the diaspora?
Right.
Because, yeah, they live in the diaspora, but they still understand issues that are relevant to Montserrat.
Right.
So that was my suggestion. My issues, to me, is with the judging process, not necessarily who the judges are. I spoke to the Calypso chairman last year, and I said to him, listen, I think we should adopt what they're doing in Trinidad. What they have done in Trinidad is you have 5 judges, and each judge is only responsible for one portion of the criteria. So you have a lyrics judge, you have a melody judge, you have a, presentation judge, you have a rendition judge, and so on.
Right.
So what happens is, each person is only responsible for one portion of the criteria. So even if one judge inflates their score, because all judges are, they're not totally unbiased.
Right.
Even if one judge inflates their score, they have 4 other categories that they have no control over.
Exactly.
So this to me is a more fair way of doing it. The other problem is that, when you're at a show and you hear them read out the criteria, sometimes they take like 2-3 minutes reading out the criteria, because not only are there you have these 5 main categories, you have some subcategories too. When they talk about theme and voice control and different things. You can't expect a judge to watch a 5-minute performance and remember everything.
How the hell could anybody in 5 minutes cover all of that?
Remember all those subcategories and be able to judge it fairly. It just can't happen.
It's not happening.
You need to stick with one. You have a lyrics judge. That person, all they focused on is lyrics. You have another one who's focused on the melody. You have another one who's focused on the rendition. You have another one who's focused on the presentation or what have you. And that to me is a more fair system. So I think my issues really is with the way how the judges perform their duties, not necessarily who the judges are.
It's unrealistic. I'm telling you, there's no way you can get up there and in 5 minutes watch somebody moving around on the stage and still cover all. Listen, you have to listen so carefully.
Track of all of that.
Yeah, it's not happening.
It works.
It does not work.
It works. And then, and like I said, the old way of doing it too, you have a judge has power over all the categories.
Right.
Whereas with my suggestion, they only have power over one category.
Yeah, you focus on one thing and deal with it.
Absolutely. So that would be my suggestion. But I mentioned it last year. I don't know if it's going to be adopted, but I hope it is.
I'd like to see some changes made, but Montserrat being Montserrat, I'm not optimistic, I'll tell you.
Old habits die hard, huh? You know how it goes.
Yeah, right. Well, Cupid is the defending monarch.
Yes.
You think he's going to put up a good fight this year? I mean,
you're trying to drag me into some controversy.
No, I'm just curious.
Well, he's always going to be a formidable candidate.
Right.
I mean, the man has been doing this for like 30 years.
True that.
I mean, he's had so many years to make mistakes and, learn from them and everything. And he's a very prolific writer. You know, and you have to. He's always going to be in the conversation.
Well, and you got to give him props.
So look out for him.
He's a seasoned performer. It
Absolutely.
doesn't matter what he has. He's going to get on stage and perform.
Absolutely. The one thing I would say is that in 2009, he was the defending champion coming in, and that year he didn't have a good year because I think sometimes it's very difficult for the defending champion because they don't get as much practice. They don't get as much practice sometimes as the other ones because they don't have to participate in the eliminations and the semifinals.
Right.
And I think that's absolutely crucial. You know, when you get up on that stage and you get a chance to perform your song, at least twice before the finals, it's very beneficial.
I mean, considering we don't have Calypso camps, which is another thing that we probably should look at. Implement some form of that so you can get practice outside of the band house.
Well, these things have been talked about for years, but they never really get, they never really happen. I've been hearing about this tent thing for years.
Yeah, so we talk a lot. We love to talk. We're not gonna lie to you.
Yeah. The only other thing I would really like to mention is that one thing I'm really proud of is my work with the kids. For the Junior Calypso.
Oh yeah, I know you've done some writing for them.
Yes, and that's one of the things I'm really proud of. I wrote 6 songs for the competition earlier this year.
Right.
And one of the young girls I wrote for finished first runner-up. So I was very, very proud of her because I gave her I gave her 2 hard songs, 2 very difficult songs.
Which one? What's her name?
That was Little J.
Oh, okay.
Jazana. And I gave her some difficult songs. Those songs are songs that the kind of songs I usually give to adults.
Right.
And she really, really worked hard, and she finished first runner-up. So I was very, very proud of her.
I mean, I was impressed with some of the kids in that show. I mean, we have talent, boy. We've always had talent. It's just
and the working with the kids part is all about what we talked about earlier about preserving the culture.
Right.
Because you have to, these kids are influenced by so many other things now as far as different music and different things. I mean, if you just stand around and not really make sure they're still interested in calypso and different things, I mean, the art form is just going to die out. So,